Paul from Naples, Florida said, in this era of portal and NIL, how should Florida go about firing Napier if that's what they do? If they do it now, they could lose everyone and their recruiting. Is there a right way to do it? No, there's not a right way to do it. So I sort of laughed when folks started circulating these rumors about a board meeting Saturday or Sunday last week, which was never going to happen. There was a lot of booster activity and conversation behind the scenes. I've spoken to some of them, and I'll tell you what the feedback they got was from the market, and that is, why are you even considering firing him right now? What sense does that make? Who's your slam dunk interim coach, by the way? There isn't one. And you also don't really know what the market's going to yield quite yet, because frankly, there are some candidates out there that need to be sold a little bit more on the quality of the Florida job. Not in classical terms. I've said what I think about the Florida job, and I mean what I say about how good the Florida job can be. But a lot of the mechanisms behind the scenes, the NIL most notably, maybe some guys have to be sold on that. But that's only part one of this thing. Part two of this thing is, makes no sense to get rid of him now because you've got a recruiting class that you've got to hold together. But the thing about it is, it doesn't matter when you do it. It's going to be ugly because you're probably targeting a guy whose team is going to be playoff caliber. And as was pointed out very colorfully by our buddy Tyler Siskey the other day, and this is the talk behind the scenes right now amongst pretty much everyone, the calendar screws you, totally screws you. So to give you an idea of what we're talking about, let's say you target Kiffin, which I absolutely think they'll do. If you target Lane Kiffin's going to have Ole Miss in the playoff if he doesn't have them in the SEC title game and the playoff. So your early signing day is the Wednesday, the first Wednesday in December. That's changed this year. The calendar, they threw it in the garbage, they redefined it, and so your early signing day, what you're trying to hold a recruiting class together until, that's the first Wednesday in December. You're not going to have your coach in place by then, so poof, that's out the window. Then the portal opens the 7th or 8th or whatever of December through the first week or so of January, and the first round of the playoffs is the 20th and 21st of December. The second round's New Year's, and then you've got your semis happening, and certainly your title game happening after the portal's already closed. And the question is, even if you could get a Lane Kiffin, even if he does covet the Florida job, is he leaving Ole Miss in the middle of the playoff? Well, of course he's not. No one's doing that. Can you operate like Kirby did once upon a time, where he announces, I'm going to be the Georgia coach, but I'm going to stay at Alabama through the title game? No, because he was a coordinator. He wasn't the head coach. Kiffin's the head coach. And so the question becomes, are you willing to wait that long? I don't know what their answer will be. I don't know what anyone's answer is going to be because we haven't really seen this happen. But the second thing that I've suggested, because I've talked to a couple of folks in that world about this, not at Florida, not at Ole Miss or anything like that, but just in that world in general, I've said the answer here is you've got to get as aggressive and creative as anyone's ever gotten with building a bridge. And I'm not talking about your traditional let's name an interim head coach and just hope he holds the ship steady until the new guy gets here. No, I'm talking about, and this is hypothetical, purely hypothetical, and purely as an example, being aggressive would be like going and saying to Urban Meyer, oh, you say the ship has sailed. Of course, we're not going to try and hire you to be the new head coach. What we do need is a guy to lead this thing for about 60 days that can extol the virtues of Florida, that can hold a recruiting class together, that can get us to January, whenever it's going to be, when our new guy gets here, and that can make sure he can look guys in the eye and say, if you can just hold on for me, this is Florida, it's a special place, I should know I've won titles here, just hold on, just let me see it through the smog, and when it clears up, it's going to make sense, you're going to want to be here. You got to get aggressive, and whether it's Urban Meyer or someone else, you got to find someone who can do that. Because otherwise, you can't go after a guy who's in the playoffs. That's the long and short of that. So no, there's no right way to do it. College football's calendar will not allow you to have a right way to do this.